The title was done and dusted already on Saturday, but that didn't stop Manchester City from getting another victory, this time with essentially their B team, as they played against Chelsea and won 1-0. And if they win their remaining two matches, they'll have 94 points for the season, which will be one more than last season. 3 consecutive league titles, 5 out of the last 6. More and more accolades for Pep Guardiola. Luis Miguel Echegaray in the house will have, hopefully, Mark Ogden from the Etihad if Oasis and We Are the Champions stops playing. But we do have Janusz Michallik already from the get-go. Janusz, 1-0 to Manchester City with essentially their B team. Julian Alvarez, by the way, 17 goals in his first season. A lot to discuss. Reaction overall as they get another victory, Manchester City and Pep Guardiola.
Well, I mean, as we've been saying, worthy winners because they know how to manage the season and obviously winning 3 straight, 5 out of 6. If it wasn't for that wonderful season from Liverpool, would it be 6 from 6? I mean, that's a dynasty. You know, we're talking about Manchester United, and now they're, you know, I don't know who the noisy neighbors are at the moment, but I think we all understand what sort of last few seasons Manchester City has had. So absolutely wonderful. This is a team that's used to coming from behind. 5 of last 6 seasons, 5 plus points behind, and I think it was 8 at some stage not long ago to Arsenal. So managing the season, it's great. You know, they used to say it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? I don't know if I believed that until Manchester City came, you know, to the levels that they are right now, Louis, because it's absolutely wonderful. And as I've said, towards the end of the season, they just get it done and put an incredible pressure on their opponents because of the quality of squad they have. And we saw it today.
Yeah, you have to be almost perfect, if not perfect, if you even have a chance against Manchester City. As Arsenal, of course, sure, they led for 248 days. And yet, as you said, Manchester City just kept coming back. Let's focus on the game today for a second. Janusz, obviously the title was done, and Pep Guardiola decided to, you know, put out those players that are also part of this massive achievement that perhaps don't get as many minutes as the likes of Kevin De Bruyne or Erling Haaland. What did you make of the performance and the lineup today? I'm sure many fantasy Premier League people were very upset at it.
Oh, I don't know. I think they understood that this was going to be the case with still 2 massive prizes in front of them, FA Cup and Champions League as well. I didn't make too much out of it, really. You know, just looking at the different positioning of Phil Foden, who I suppose didn't have a great season. Not to say that 10 goals and 5 assists in the Premier League isn't great. He's had some injuries, but I think one player that I remember making a note ahead of the season thinking, yeah, that should have been better. But you saw today in a different position, a position that he's played already. And from what we're hearing, it's going to be a position that he may be playing more in starting next season. And you saw how wonderful he was between the lines, obviously getting a lot more of the ball and, you know, very, very tidy. And you have to be technically superb. You have to be De Bruyne. You have to be Gundogan, knowing when to stay, when to go, when to move, when to just rest and stay away from the game, because that's important. I think players forget very often that in that position in the center of the park, sometimes you don't have to participate at all times. In fact, you're better off being quiet a little bit. So maybe the opposition forgets about you. Other than that, it's just, you know, the first 10, 11, 12 minutes, you know, in the first goal, just think about that. The only shot they had on the goal for the longest time, which was the goal, like knife through butter, wasn't it, for them, the way they scored that goal.
Yeah, it was after a mistake from the Chelsea midfield, and then boom, in a heartbeat, Manchester City get that lead. Hey, let's talk a little bit about, yeah, go ahead.
No, I think it was Fofana, I think, wasn't it? That it was an errant pass. Cole Palmer just kind of driving through. Thiago Silva showed his age, really not sure what he was doing in terms of coverage of Alvarez. So, I mean, they can hit you in so many different ways. And then in the end, I thought it was awful from Chelsea, by the way, in the first half. In the second half, it was a little bit better, but I just wonder if it was, you know, maybe Manchester City kind of, you know, waiting for the final whistle and for the celebrations.
Yeah, it was definitely a season for Chelsea to forget. We'll have to see what happens next season with the reported pending incoming of Mauricio Pochettino, but that's for another day. Hey, a lot of young players from Manchester City obviously started today. Wanted to ask you quickly about Julian Alvarez, because, you know, he scored 17 goals. Araña comes from River Plate. And, you know, were it not for all the massive headlights of Erling Haaland, you know, it's worth saying that Julian Alvarez also had a really good debut season.
Well, absolutely, and you know, as you know, we were listening during the game to the commentary. Just imagine how many goals he would have had if Erling Haaland wasn't there, right? So, I mean, he pays the price for that. But I think there's always a place, there's always a rotation. I think he's the sort of player that you can play in many different positions, of course. And so, I mean, as young as he is, great experience already, wonderful World Cup. What did he have? 4 goals there, and as you've mentioned, I think 9 goals here in the Premier League alone. So, for as little as he's played in a way, I think obviously a player that's going to have to continue to develop, knowing that there isn't going to be a lot of opportunities in the starting lineup for as long as Erling Haaland continues to score at a rate that he does. I don't suspect that Haaland is going to better this season. That would be just absolutely incredible. But I think he's going to get his goal. So for Julian Alvarez, absolutely wonderful. And look, there's a lot of players like him there that would play or start elsewhere. But as I think Pep Guardiola was saying, kind of paraphrasing, look, you know, if at one point you want to leave Manchester City, you're going to make history anyway. You're going to leave with a lot of trophies, and that's what you have to deal with. So, yeah, great season for a young player that just in the beginning of his career, and look how much experience he's already gotten and how many trophies he's already won.
Yeah, and of course, this isn't over. As you mentioned, they have the treble quest, of course, the Champions League and the FA Cup. They've got 2 remaining matches as well, Manchester City as well, Brighton and Brentford. What do you expect there from Pep Guardiola? Do you continue? I expect a rotational system here all the way leading up to the Champions League and FA Cup final.
Well, absolutely. He's, you know, we pretty much know what the lineup is going to be for those games if everybody stays healthy. I think he's going to want to continue to drive his team. You know, you look at this season and you say, I mean, it may be historic, but when it comes to Premier League, it wasn't the best, right? When you look at 4 losses and in particular the four draws. I mean, just have to look at even the draws against Forest, Everton, Villa, and Newcastle. Some of the losses against big teams, that's for sure, with the exception of that loss to Brentford at home. But in the end, 93 goals scored, best in the league, 31 conceded, best in the league as well. So it's not bad, but statistically, probably, you know, not the best that they've had. So eyes on the prize right now, and it's not going to be easy. And think about it: if they falter at 1, you know, I wonder what the narrative is going to be. It's going to be a bad season for Manchester City, right? Because the expectations are so high. They've achieved. I still think, you know, a massive goal, because you have to do it over the course of the season, and they continue to excel in the Premier League, and they are so close now for that prize that has eluded them, and that's the Champions League. So we'll see. And Manchester United, I mean, it would be a special season in so many ways.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.